Hi there, Sinso is about to come out next week. In this video we're going to talk about team building with this character, which might be a bit tricky. If you're not aware, with her skill she can apply additional weaknesses to the enemies depending on your allies' elements, which makes her dependent on what characters you're putting in her team. But it doesn't mean that she only works in mono quantum team. Of course, we can have multiple different strategies of team building to make a proper, good, effective team with Silverwolf, and I will try to cover all of those teams in this video, starting of course from mono quantum team, just because it's the most discussed and most hyped team currently, which we can show. So since this character is a sub DPS type, she doesn't have to use her skill points every turn. She only has to apply additional weakness on the main enemy, and then she can use her basic attacks, which are really efficient. They can apply additional debuffs, and after the enemy removes additional weakness, we can reapply it with Silverwolf, which means we can easily use other strong DPS characters which use their skill point every of their action, like for example Sealy. So we already have two quantum characters and we have a really high chance of just applying quantum weakness on the enemy. Then we can increase this chance of course by using Chinche in the team, and then we only need to put additional sustain character of quantum element to actually finish the team. But the problem is currently, and even in 1.1, we are unable to make this team with quantum sustain character. In future we in theory can do this with Fushan, but we can't actually use this character now, so I can say that this team is actually good, and it's doubtable if this team will be good when she will come out, just because Chinche is draining lots of skill points, as well as Sealy, and also Silverwolf has to use her skill points time to time, so it might not be the best team we can actually build. That's why from mono quantum team we're gonna go to second strategy of team building, which is 3+1. We aim to use 3 characters of the same element plus another elemental character, and you might say that at this point we have a 25% chance to apply the wrong weakness. But first of all, if you're talking about Memory of Chaos, you can actually remove this chance just by re-entering the stage. You can just re-enter unless you get a proper weakness to the enemy. That's why of course we can minimize the randomness. If you don't want to re-enter the stage, the second strategy, which is 2+2, might be much more interesting for you. But if you're talking about 3 characters plus 1, of course we first of all have to find the elements which have all the roles of the characters in them currently. That's why I propose starting from the healing character, because we only have 2 healing characters currently, and first one is Natasha. Of course she is a physical element, so now we have to find a DPS character which is also physical element, and we actually have one, which is Shusheng. She is a really good physical DPS single target character. Also she synergizes with Silverwolf really well because she works around breaking the enemies, and of course Silverwolf helps breaking a lot. So this team is already really good. Now we have to fill the last slot, which has to be sustain or aggressive supportive character. We of course can use physical main character. It's not the best option, not even close, but if you really want to use them, you can. If you have Clara, she might be a really good option, though she is destruction, but she can tank to some extent. Of course she is not applying shields like Jeopard, but she anyway can do her role, and this team might be really good. Again, you are entering the battle, you have a 75% chance to apply physical weakness, then you can break the enemy with any of these 3 characters and make advantage of your Shusheng easily. Same you can do with Bailu, since she is the second healing character we currently have. She is a lightning element, and this actually dictates us what DPS character we of course want to use. We can use her with Genian easily. It's like one of the best options we currently have, so we already have a 50% chance to apply lightning element, and we can increase it with using for example Tinyun. Then we actually have a proper team. We have a DPS character, we have a supportive buffing character, we have a sub DPS debuffer, and we have healer. This might be one of the best team for Jinyuan and Silverwolf in one team when she will be released. Again, you don't have to use exactly this team. You also can, for example, use Serval without any problem. Of course, at this point you might have to use too much skill points on these two DPS characters, but in theory it still can work. You also can, if you really want to, use Alan. Again, he's not the best character overall, but you can use him. And if you're talking about progression of this team, in future you can replace Jinyuan with Kafka, of course. Again, like, we don't know how Kafka will work when she will be released. She might be reworked a lot, but she can synergize really well with Serval. If she won't synergize with other DOT characters of the same element, then we in theory can just use Tinyun. We will have a main DPS character. Again, we will have a buffing character, debuffing character, and of course healing character without any problem. So this is like a 3+1 strategy. Again, it's not all the teams. In future, when we get more healing characters, when we get more DPS characters of different elements, it might work much better. That's why to some extent maybe Silverwolf is the best option to summon for when she will be on her rerun, because to some extent, especially if you're free to play, you're summoning for the character which will be really good in future, but currently you're just missing one DPS character which you could summon for same currency. So yeah, it's a bit strange, but still, let's go on. And here we are gonna have another healing character which creates another type of team. We have Locha, which is an imaginary type, and exactly the same time as Locha will be released, we are gonna get Yukon, which is a harmony character. So we already almost finished our team. Again, if at some point we are gonna get any imaginary DPS character, no matter if it's a destruction character or hunt character or erudition, this is actually another team we can use. We already can put Welt here, but Welt is not the best main DPS character. Of course, we overall have lots of different DPS, like sub-DPS characters with lots of utility, but I don't think it would work that well, especially taking into account that Locha is not the best healer, and since we don't have a main DPS character, we might last a lot in this battle. That's why I don't think this exact team is the best one, but in future, if we get any imaginary DPS character, this team also can work really well. Also, we can make the same with Ice currently. I'm not saying this is like the best team, but we still can do this. We can just use, for example, Jeopard as our sustain. Of course, he is not healing, but he is still a really good sustain character. Then we have to find a DPS character of Ice element. Of course, obviously we have Yanqing, and at this point they also synergize really well. Again, Jeopard is protecting Yanqing. He is not getting damaged. He gets lots of damage boost, and then we just have to get any Ice character at this point. We can of course use Pela. She contradicts with Silverwolf at some point because she does to some extent same thing. She does not apply additional weaknesses, but she also shreds the defense. So maybe you don't want to use them in one team, but you still can use, for example, Mach 7. It would be a lot of sustain. You may lack some damage, but anyway, this team already might work. And if you're talking about Herta, in theory, even Herta can work, again, because in this team, we need just a bit of additional damage because we can't heal our characters, so we don't want to last a lot in the battle. But again, depending on how well developed your characters are, this team also can work. And for now, I think those are all 3+1 teams we can actually build. Of course, we can touch a wind team, which we potentially might get. So we already have Bronya, we already have Denheng. We can, in theory, in future, replace Denheng with Blade. But the main problem is we don't have any shielding or healing wind character. That's why, of course, it's really hard to build this type of a team. That's why let's for now move to 2+2 strategy, where we are changing the scenario a bit. If in this first 3+1 strategy we were looking for applying the correct weakness to the enemy, here we don't really care what weakness we want to apply. So, for example, we have Sealy and Silverwolf. They are both same element, but then we have to use shielding or healing character and supportive character in this same team. And what we can do, we can actually use two characters of same different to those two element, which just make our team work. For example, we can use Asta and Fire MC because these two characters are both fitting this team. We have a buffer, we have a shielder, and this team actually might work really well. Again, if you're applying fire weakness to the enemy, you still have 2 characters to break the fire weakness. If you're applying quantum, that's what you actually wanted to apply. So this team might work a bit better when you don't want to re-enter the stage, but a bit worse if you actually can re-enter for multiple times the stage and apply the proper quantum weakness if you're going for 3+1. This not only can work with Trailblazer, Fire and Asta, of course, we can do the same, for example, with physical characters. We can use Natasha, and if you really want, you can use Shushang, because again, we are revolving around breaking. It's not the best team. We have 3 characters which use skill points, but anyway, you can go for it. You at the same time can use Clara, for example, without any problem. If you really want to, then in theory for future you can use 2 imaginary characters, for example Locha and Welt, or Locha and Yukon. This is actually a really solid team, don't get me wrong. The only problem, it might be tricky to reapply the weakness and to recharge the toughness for the enemies, because both imaginary and quantum are pushing back enemy sections and they won't be able to recover that fast. But in general, I think this team will also work definitely fine. Also, if you're talking about 2+2, we can easily use Bailu plus, for example, Serval. Again, Serval doesn't require that much skill points, and Bailu is just a healer, so overall this team also can work. Same with Tinyun. This team might actually be a really good option, again, if you don't want to re-enter the Memory of Chaos or any other activity to apply the proper weakness. And now I want to talk about, in theory, the most efficient way how to build Silverwolf teams, but it depends on how her skill actually works on practice to say if these teams will work. So we know that with her skill, Silverwolf applies additional weakness to the enemy, but it doesn't state if we can apply same weakness as enemy already has. Of course, it mentions that we can't apply that, but we don't know if we have even a chance to apply that one. Then, for example, if the enemy has already ice weakness and lightning weakness, if we put March 7 in the team, will it ruin our chance to apply the weakness because we just in theory can apply the ice, or it will ignore existence of March 7 in the team and then we can have more chances to apply other characters' weaknesses? If it will work this way, then one of the best ways how to build a team for any activity with Silverwolf might be to check the enemy's weaknesses and then just build the team revolving around main DPS character which we have and supportive characters which just meet the proper elements. For example, your enemy has, let's say, quantum, freeze or ice and physical weaknesses, and our main DPS is lightning. Then let's it be, for example, Genian. Let's just put him in the team. We of course have Silverwolf, and then if in theory we can't physically apply the weakness which we already have, we can just put any ice and any physical character in our team and it will guarantee us that we are applying lightning. Again, if it works like this is the best way how you can build teams with Silverwolf. If it doesn't work and you in theory can apply Natasha's weakness but it won't be applied because it's stated that it can't apply additional weaknesses, then it's of course just the worst way how you can build teams, but in theory it can really work well. Now when we discussed all the strategies how you can build the teams, let's just discuss some really easy free-to-play builds around Silverwolf. Again, it's really hard to build a super duper strong team currently just because we have not that much units, especially the free-to-play ones, but we already have a really solid strategy of 2+2 with Shusheng, Natasha and also of course Chinche in the team. This might be one of the best teams which you can build as free-to-play. Also, in theory, if you was lucky to pull Bronya, you can do exactly the same but with Danhang. Then you have Bronya, Danhang and also Chinche. Of course, it's a super aggressive team. You can't use it, for example, in Memory of Chaos because the enemies will just kill you, you won't be able to heal. But overall, it still works, and again, this is how you just build the teams. About the fire and wind might be the weakest elements currently. It doesn't mean that in future they will get much stronger units, but we already can to some extent build this type of team. Again, we have problem with healers because For example, if we are putting Asta, this means that we guarantee ourselves, almost guarantee ourselves to just apply fire weakness, but we have problem because we can't heal. If we are using Bailu, then we have 50-50 chance to apply quantum or lightning weakness, which is really bad. That's why I don't think it's that easy for free-to-play to actually build a proper Silver Wolf team, even if they were lucky to get Himiko or Clara or Bronya, for example, even. But overall, I hope you get the idea how to build the team around Silver Wolf, and that's all. Thanks for your kind attention, and see you soon.